So we're here at the OE amplifier, and right now we're working on hooking up our RCAs. So we're going to come to this green plug right here in the vehicle. You're going to notice that we have brown, white, and red, blue. Those are the factory subwoofer wires, the wires that go to the subs under the seat. Now, you can choose to tap to these. What we've done is cut them, eliminating those front subs under the seats altogether. It's really personal preference, and our preference here is to not have those play at all. We just want the clean bass from the new 8-inch JL Audio W3. So, what we're gonna have you do here, whether you splice them in or cut them all together, you're gonna take your cables. You'll notice that there's two translucent wires. Those are the grounds. Then we have a white and we have a dark gray. Those are the powers. So we are going to want to put the white to this brown wire here, the translucent that coincides with it to the white wire. So that is power and ground respectively. And here we're gonna go gray on the red and we're gonna go translucent on the blue. That's power and ground as well. Now, technically, if you reverse this all together, it would still work just fine. But for intents of keeping everything the same, let's go white to brown, translucent to white in that pair. Then we're gonna go gray to red, translucent to blue on that pair. Now, we have already done this. We're a little OCD here. So we splice the wires, we solder them together, we heat shrink them, and then we tape them. That's our method. Technically, you can use connectors if you're more comfortable. Personally, I highly recommend solder, heat shrink, and then tape. And then we're actually going to bundle this all together and make it very clean in the end. What we'd like to go over here is the mounting and general wiring on your amplifier. Amplifier, as you see, comes mounted onto the backer board. You're also going to receive the hardware to mount it. So if you notice, we have a screw here and here. Those are self-tappers. You can pre-drill if you like, but they will go right in. Then just underneath the amp, we have a self-tapper on each of the corners. The amp, as mentioned, is attached to the backer board already. Now, all of the wiring, as you see if you purchased this from us, is already attached to the amplifier, RCAs, the power, the ground, and the speaker output. And all of those wires are tinned with solder. You will not have to tighten them. You won't have to touch them at all. As most of you are probably aware, if you like to make adjustments to the amplifier, you can do so by removing these two Allen keys. We're including that Allen key in the set, but these are going to come pre-adjusted for you. So coming off the amplifier, you're going to have your power wire. That wire we have routed here to the fuse holder. The fuse holder that we're giving you has a couple screw holes in it. We've chosen to screw it right here. You may not have the sound dampening in your vehicle, that's fine. Pre-drill some holes, put the screws right down, you'll be good to go. If you'd like to do it a little bit more simple, you can technically zip tie that to one of the brackets. You could put that wire on this side if you'd like to and zip tie it, but we like it screwed down nice and secure. Fuse is already mounted in here. Now, when you're doing this install, that's the last thing you want to do is put the fuse in. We're going to ship it with the fuse out. You're going to wire this up and then drop your fuse last. So following this wire around here, we've removed the plastic cover. This terminal will already be soldered on. All you're going to do is remove this 10mm bolt. You're going to drop your terminal right there, tighten your 10mm back up, and that's it. That's your power connection. Now, back to the amp, our ground connection. We're coming off the amp with a matching 4-gauge ground wire. The power is a 4-gauge also. We are routing that next to the factory ground point, ground wire rather, for the factory battery. we're utilizing the same point. Now, in this instance here, we've removed the factory ground temporarily and we've sanded up the surface here. You don't have to do that, but we like the idea of it. So we're removing this bolt, we're putting our wire and terminal here. Your wire will have the terminal soldered to it as well. Again, there is no need to re-crimp or solder any of these ends. We have pre-crimped them and tinned them with solder. So that's your power connection. The RCA cable that we've gone over in another video, that again is coming off the bottom of the amp. We are routing that up here. If you notice, we're following the factory wiring harnesses in the vehicle. We're just using cable ties. We're coming around with the RCAs, and as you saw in another video, we're tying into the factory amplifier in the vehicle. So that's all done and taped up, but you will route that cable from the bottom of the amp, follow this harness here, right to your factory amp, as seen in the other video. Now, the last wire that's coming off the amp is a 12 gauge JL Audio speaker wire, and that's right, all of the cables we're giving you are JL Audio. So, this wire here, this is our 12 gauge speaker wire. We're coming over to the sub area. Now, we have done connection here. To make it easy for you guys, we've just done male and females. You can't mix and match these. They are opposite, so you can't do your positive and negative backwards. That's gonna plug right in. Now, to be very clear, we prefer to cut and solder this in. We have shipped it to you with connectors for ease of your installation, but in our vehicles, we will be soldering those wires. Just makes your installation a lot easier for us to ship this with that wire disconnected, because that wire goes right into your subwoofer, which we've showed you how to install in other videos. Okay, if you've opted for the JL bass knob, which we highly recommend, that cable is coming off the bottom of the amp. It is routed with the speaker wire up until this point right here in the quarter. Then we're going to take it along the factory wire harness. So that cable is going to disappear right into the back of the seat here, or the seat side rather. You can very easily come on this side of the vehicle, move this seat forward, get that wire snaked right through. Then we are following the channels here. So you're gonna lift up your rubber here, pop the plastic, and essentially you're just gonna run that wire underneath the plastic trim from the front, or the back rather, all the way up to the front. If you've gone with our mounting location, we're giving you the bass knob with a bracket, and that sucker's gonna mount right by your OBD too. So again, you're just following the channel. We've zip tied ours along the way, coming up, exiting right out of the kick panel. Gonna bring your cable right to your bass knob and plug it in. If you're not familiar with the JL Audio RBC1 bass knob, it does unplug at the knob itself, so you're just gonna be running the cable up there. Okay, so mounting your bass knob, we've already got the wire run up towards the top of the kick. The connector is right there. As you saw in the videos previous, the bass knob is separate than the cable. So this is not going to come attached to the bracket because you're going to need room to get to a screw. It's a little hard to get in here and give you guys the angle, but you take a look at your OBD 2-port, you're going to look just up here and inside, and what you're going to find is this Phillips head screw. So it is to the left or outside of your OBD 2-port. You're going to pop that screw out. You will then put the screw through your bass knob bracket. You're going to bring the bracket back up. You're going to screw this puppy in. Once that's done, this will be hidden up here. You'll feed your bass knob through this hole, pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna feed that through, Gonna put the nut on the bass knob, the bass knob on the bass knob, if you will, and that'll be nice and stealth. Now, obviously, you're welcome to come up with different custom places to put the bass knob. This idea we like because it keeps it nice and stealth, very easy to reach, and no permanent modification on the vehicle. But obviously, if there is a place that you would prefer to drill it in, you've got plenty of negative real estate in the vehicle that you can utilize, but we like this spot a whole lot. So finished product here, guys. Our bass knob hanging out here under the dash. Plenty of access to the OBD2 port, and when you're seated you can barely even see this guy, but very easy to reach. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with the purpose of a bass knob. To be very clear though, your subwoofer will go up and down in volume relative to your radio. The purpose of the bass knob is to control the sub. Basically, you can turn her all the way down and you can turn it all the way up using the knob. If you're counterclockwise here, your subwoofer is not playing. Clockwise all the way, your subwoofer is all the way up. We find this very beneficial when you're changing the type of music you're listening to. You have a really bass heavy song, it's too much bass, come down a little. You want more bass, come up. You've got mom in the car, you need no bass, turn her all the way down. Whenever you have a factory radio in a vehicle, we always suggest a bass knob just so you have a little bit more control over the system. But in this case here, you have complete control over that subwoofer.